what if you're going to Memorial Field or a football game? It's a school activity, but it's not a school ground.
School policy is no weapons.
Yeah, that's,
Memorial Field is not the school.
That's school
Any school function,
it's prohibited because it's a school function there at Memorial Field.
Even at school board meetings.
Yeah.
And we don't have, there's no castle law in Idaho, right?
Well, yes, there is, in Idaho, yes.
You don't have to leave your house.
No, you don't, no. And those are, if you want, I mean, I could take a couple of minutes and talk about it, because I actually highlighted, when those areas that you're not required to have a firearm, and I can go over that really quick. This is in the legislation. Sorry. I think I highlighted it. If you're on your own property, you're in your business, you have permission from the owner to be on that property, you're not required to have a concealed weapon, and that could be, I didn't highlight it, but those are the areas that you're exempt from having to have a permit. But you know, it's like in July 1st, some of those criteria are going to change, because if it's out in the county, if it's in public, if you're going to be covered by the current law. Yes.
last year when we did the 4th of July parade,
Yes.
The Lions Club, I believe, that hosted it, indicated that you could not have a weapon in the parade, or, and we were
Right.
doing a function on the side of the road. How would that,
Well, that was based on, that's their function. They got a permit. They allow people to participate in that permit. So they allow people, and they can set that criteria personally, if you want to participate in that permit, or in the parade. And that's how.
Again, you'd only be trespassing, but not violating law.
Correct, yes.
now, if you were involved in the parade because you were a contributor, but if you were just a regular citizen at the parade, you're
No,
good?
that doesn't affect, no, that's not.
Okay.
But you're actually right. It's the same thinking of, you know, the signs out in the hospitals, no knives or firearms inside. There's no city code that prohibit a participant who gets a permit for a parade that can file charges against you. They could just kick you out of the parade.
We'd be giving out waters at the parade.
Yes.
So after July 1st, I need this clarified, you can carry concealed out in the county, no problem. What about in the city?
Yep, it applies. Right now, you can carry concealed in the county. The law changes, you can carry concealed without a permit, if you're over 21, both in the county and in the city. With no permit, no training, you can carry.
Because I kept hearing something like, no, you can't carry concealed in the city, and I think that was just some anti-gunners that were.
Right, well, that was part of some of the legislation, some of the bills that were submitted this year. So that changed.
So after July 1st, you can carry permitless, concealed within the city limits?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Just not in the federal building.
Right. Yes.
One of my questions, earlier you mentioned edged weapons, like when I was understood, if you were carrying a hunting knife and you have a coat and cover it, in the wintertime, you typically conceal.
Right.
Is that going to be okay?
Well, that's going to be eliminated.
So I can keep-
Yes, because we're kind of unusual. In a lot of states, when you get a concealed weapons permit, it only includes a firearm. But in Idaho, it includes edged weapons. There's a whole list of dangerous weapons that's included, that's are now exempt. You don't have to have a concealed weapons. If you're an Idaho citizen, you have to make sure that you are.
My driver's license says, right.
Yeah.
Going back to the school issue, is that an actual crime, or is that a trespass situation? Is that a statute?
It's it's part of the national crime. It has to be prosecuted by the U.S. prosecutor. It's not something that would be prosecuted. Yeah, it's federal violation.
Are there any exemptions to that as far as what type of,
Well, yeah, actually, what happens is the school board can give permission for their employees or someone to carry on campus, which exempts that, but yeah. But
well, like with the HR 218, is that exempt, or is that just fall under?
no, it doesn't.
So if this is a federal law, have you instructed your officers to follow that federal law?
We don't follow federal law.
That's what I was.
Yeah, we don't.
So in other words, if I'm inside Clark Park High School, it needs to be a Fed that walks in and catches me with a firearm.
Absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Some more questions?
Time for devil's advocate, sir?
Sure.
Okay, now, people are going to say, because you support this, people are going to say, well, this is going to lessen the amount of times when during just let's say a field contact with someone, and they ask to, just make it, they ask to patch you down. Will that
Okay, well,
lessen
now,
that?
we're talking about two different things.
Okay,
If you're talking about a Terry stop, you have to have a criteria.
yeah.
You cannot, because you see a bulge in somebody
Yeah.
and you're walking down the street, you cannot pat somebody down and search them and ask them if they're a felon or not. That's it. You have to have suspicious circumstances. You have to be late at night in a high crime area. You have to meet the criteria of Terry versus Ohio and what we as police officers follow. So if you're just a citizen walking around, you've got to have a reason to contact them. And if they say, I don't really want to talk to you, okay, well, thank you. Yeah, fine.
Except the Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
So we don't live in Coeur d'Alene.
No, we don't. We live in Bonner County. You bet.
Border states, so Utah's pretty straightforward.
Yes.
They want $40. Washington's pretty straightforward. Oregon, I'm a little confused on.
Oregon, yeah, well, so am I. I don't, I'm not an expert on the other states. You'd have to check with them if someone knows, but I don't know what
So the
they're.
instructor that I took, he says, basically take my class and go to this county, talk to this sheriff, and good to go.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't answer that question.
I have a little information on that.
Sure.
When I went through that class at Post Falls, I've got an Oregon permit I got a couple of years ago. What he was telling me is that Oregon's decided they don't want any more out-of-state people to have their permits. But then I talked to somebody else, and they've said, well, check Grant County, because their sheriff is a little more supportive.
Okay.
I don't know, mine comes up in 2017, so I guess I'll have to find out.
Sure.
It's a one-on-one with the sheriff.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, if you're in California, there are several sheriffs in California that issue permits to all of their residents. They are very pro-Second Amendment, and they
In certain
recognize.
counties, not Southern California.
Yeah,
but
no,
Tulare
like
County,
Mendocino County is one of them.
Yeah,
It's
Tulare
very-
County, where I used to live before I moved to Idaho 15 years ago, I was able to get one there, but when I lived in Southern California, I couldn't get one.
Yeah.
For the enhanced permit, what training other than locally could you have that would qualify for that?
Yeah, you would have to have if you didn't take that, if you were NRA instructor or equivalent, and you had the personal protection training as an instructor, then you could get it without taking the class. So those instructors that have had that are teaching the class, they don't have to attend it, they can just come in and challenge it, just give me that. Yeah.
Does the military count anymore?
Used to.
No, well, it's proof of proficiency and hunter safety, military, you ask for a DD 214 to show that. But I'll tell you now, it's kind of a moot because after July, there's no requirement, so, and that's why I'm a real advocate. I think I really want to encourage at least our young people and folks here that live in Bonner County to get some kind of firearms training. And
I wanted to clarify that. I've had multiple training classes at gun sight and front sight, both classes, Arizona and Nevada. Would those qualify if I can bring you the documentation for that, or?
is it, it's got to meet the criteria of personal protection, and you've taken that, Ron. How many days is that?
It's actually just one day.
One day. But
Well,
it's actually,
I coupled it with several 4- and 5-day programs to go with it.
well, if you show it that it has that personal protection, yes,
Okay.
yes.
I was curious, Washington's kind of a common state, so I know people that go over the border with a rifle on the rack that's loaded can pretty much see a felony on that side. I think that same problem is gonna be an issue, people are just gonna have a gun, not think about it, cross the border.
Well, it's not a problem for Washingtons to come over here with their guns.
And,
Yeah,
the
it's a
other way.
problem for them to come back and forth. I just stay out of Washington if I can.
Amen.
Even visitors can carry concealed in our state without permit?
No, they can't.
Oh.
No, he was talking about rifles.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he's talking about
Long gun, okay.
Yeah, long gun. And the thing is what's so strange is, they have to buy a gun in Washington. Washington residents can't come to Idaho and buy a firearm.
Even a long gun?
A handgun.
Oh, handgun.
Yeah, that's like, wow.